Hello, I'm Robert Traynham, and welcome to Roll Call TV. One, first of all, Republicans need to walk the walk and talk the talk. What we all know is that African Americans or black Americans, however you want to characterize us, are intuitively conservative when it comes to faith-based, when it comes to traditional marriage, when it comes to traditional values as it relates to family and so forth. That's number one. Number two, what the Republican Party tried to do under George W. Bush in the beginning of its administration, which was to reach out to the African American community in various ways, through home ownership, through faith-based, as I mentioned before. What unfortunately what the party has not done over the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years is to say, not only are we reaching out to you today, as Governor Steele mentioned, but we want to reach out to you tomorrow, because intuitively you are a part of our family. And that's the thing that Lee Atwater, you have to give him credit, which he did. He saw around the corner and he said, we're not going to be able to reach out to African Americans today or tomorrow, but we have to start this effort so that we can lay the foundation so that this house can stand for the next 30 or 40 years.
Let me ask you this.
We as Americans are overly communicative people. And so what the Republican Party needs to do is to communicate what its values are to African Americans. But to augment what Tara said too, it's so frustrating that every time you say you're a black conservative, people say, oh, in other words, what we need to do is have an open mind.
That's right.
And,
open conversation,
and when you take a look at traditional African American organizations, oftentimes when you say that you're a black conservative, you're automatically shunned. And so what we need to have is an open mind and an overly communicative process where there's a flow of ideas back
Michael,
and forth.
what of those who...
Robert, earlier I heard, we were talking to, I think it was... I forget who it was actually, who said that Barack Obama has the same issue. You know, nobody wants to see an angry black man in front of the cameras. Do you think that, in a way, they both have this positioning issue? You know, got to walk this narrow line of not offending anybody, you know, being strong but not too strong?
Yeah, there's no question about it that they both have a very difficult maze to navigate. Senator Obama, as you mentioned, is an African-American male, so you have to be very careful, or he has to be very careful in terms of how he projects himself. Governor Paulin also has the same problem, obviously being a female. It's a very difficult maze to navigate simply because the American people we've never handled this before on the national level. So it's a comfort level that we all have to get with having a vice presidential nominee that's a woman and obviously a presidential nominee that's African-American.
Certainly changing the debate, isn't it? I want to thank you both, Robert and Hillary. Appreciate it.
Hi, Robert. Bye, Robert.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Roll Call TV. As always, thanks for joining us as we discuss the politics and the policies affecting you. So you heard the open. What next for Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton? 2 years ago, after announcing her historic run for the presidency, she has run up an impressive tally of significant victories and major setbacks. Take a look at this. You know, for the past 15 years, Washington has been talking and talking and talking about the need to fix our broken healthcare system. According to the latest reports, nearly 47 million Americans either do not have healthcare or have substandard healthcare insurance. Besides Iraq, gas prices, and the overall health of the economy, healthcare has been a topic of conversation on the presidential campaign trail. And joining us to talk about his thoughts on the current healthcare crisis and to talk a little presidential politics is Senator Tom Daschle, former Democratic leader of the U.S. Senate and author of the new book, Critical: What We Can Do About the Healthcare Crisis. Joining me in the questioning is Emily Pierce, senior staff writer for Roll Call. Senator and Emily, welcome.
Hey, Robert, when Bill Clinton says Barack wins in the urban areas and Hillary Clinton wins in some of those traditional rural areas that were ceded over to Ronald Reagan, isn't that pretty good analysis that this would, if you were able to bring all these forces together, would be a pretty unstoppable ticket?
There's no question about it, Tony, that a Clinton-Obama-Clinton ticket would be a force to be reckoned with. Look, what Bill Clinton was speaking to, who they were speaking to the other week, he was speaking to superdelegates. He was speaking in code to those folks by saying, look, this is the dream ticket here. My wife is open to this idea. You should be open to this idea going into the Denver convention at the late of August. The point is that they recognize that they are literally joined at the hip, literally and figuratively, and they have to do something in order to unvarnish or undo this stalemate.
Hey, Robert, Mary Frances mentions do-overs in Michigan and Florida. Is that how you see it playing out?
It appears that way.
Charlie Crist, the governor of Florida, has openly said that we should do a do-over in Florida. Jennifer Granholm, the Democratic governor of Michigan, has said pretty much the same thing, although she's a little bit more lukewarm about it. The real question is, Tony, is how do you do it? How do you pay for it, number one? But also, number two, from a logistical standpoint, how do you educate all the voters in Michigan and Florida to vote again when they actually voted 3 months ago?
Yeah.
So the real question is whether or not the DNC, which candidly speaking is the most relevant party in all of this, along with the Obama and Clinton campaigns, is that something that they're going to be open to? Well, Tony, that's actually a very good point, because the Clinton campaign, they probably do not want to do a do-over as well. And the reason why is because they won those states, although legally speaking, those delegates cannot be seated at the convention
that'll
right
work
now.
itself out down the road here. Let me get a couple of quick ones in here. You know, there is a debate, Robert, over whether or not this protracted process on the Democratic side is good for the party or not. I'm wondering if it's good to see this battle playing out on the Democratic side for another couple of months. Is it good for John McCain?
Well, it's yes and no. I mean, it's good for John McCain because he can raise a lot of money. He can obviously travel around the country and do his thing. And that literally is trying to coalesce around the social conservatives out there that still have a raised eyebrow about his candidacy. It's a bad thing, Tony, to a certain degree with the John McCain campaign because he's not relevant right now from a news perspective. He is on page B2 as opposed to A1, and the McCain folks know that. They recognize that they have to remain relevant throughout this whole process when the Democrats literally duke it out.
Do you have that same impression?
No disrespect to my girl Karen, but what I just heard is Washington double talking. The president did the same exact thing back in July and August. He came out at a town hall meeting in the Midwest and he said, "I want a public option." But as soon as we all saw those town hall meetings in August, he dialed back. So what is the president doing right now? He's keeping his cards close to the vest. And you know what he's saying? He's saying, you know what? I want health care reform, but you know what? If in fact he has not said this, but this is what he's implying. If in fact there's no public option, I'm fine with that. And here's the reason why: it's because from a political standpoint, he recognizes that he needs to have some type of health care proposal to pass, or he has failed.
I agree with Robert on that one.
First of all, it's absolutely disgusting that obviously this is happening. And I think the sad part about this, and with all due respect to you, Roland, I think the question should be, what are our parents doing? Because obviously they're an integral part of this. Government has a role, but parents have an even more important role. And I just hope, I'm going to go out on a limb here, I hope that the parents of these kids that actually did the beating were good parents, that they were at home, that they were doing the thing. But also, too, there's a slight fear there with their children that if, in fact, they were caught doing something like that, they shouldn't be afraid of the cops. They should be afraid of their parents when they get home. Are you saying that the appetite is out there, perhaps, for another contract with America?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm writing an article for January for Newsmax outlining a contract. I don't think you can adopt one until after Labor Day, but I would strongly urge the House Republicans to adopt a contract in late September.
You know, Mr. Speaker, when I go through the Capitol oftentimes and I listen to my Republican and Democratic friends, most of my Republican friends say, we don't have a Newt of today. We don't have someone that's revolutionary. We don't have someone that's a bomb thrower. We don't have someone that's not afraid of the current leadership, i.e. Speaker Pelosi and so forth. Who is the next Newt Gingrich in the Republican Party today?
I think there are lots of smart people. I look at an Eric Cantor. First of all, John Boehner's done a very good job of creating alternatives on energy, where he had the all-of-the-above plan, on health care. I mean, Boehner's positioning the party to potentially be a majority next year.
What are the politics of this under the Capitol dome?
Well, the politics are twofold, John. First and foremost, the constituents out there are saying one thing, but also gays and lesbians in the military are saying something completely different. Gays and lesbians in the military, John, as you all know, and of course Don and everyone else knows on your panel knows, is that they're saying, listen, what I do in the privacy of my bedroom really should not matter what I do on the battlefield. That's number one. But also number two, when it comes to the overall fervor of the law, yeah, don't ask, don't tell sounds great on paper, but in reality, it's very discriminatory. But listen, to answer your question specifically, what lawmakers are hearing is from their very conservative constituencies, particularly in the South, that are saying, you know what, this is moving way too fast for us. We have so many other issues that are pressing right now, like the war in Afghanistan, like trying to get our economic mess back in order. So, you know, the president, listen, has two different constituencies out there. But the reality here is that, look, what are the specifics? When will the president actually, and don't ask, don't tell, he can quite simply do this with an executive order if he really wants to. Plus, he has the majorities in the House and the Senate. If he really wanted this, he could push this sooner rather than later.